Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to tackle one of the most critical skills for any Azure solutions architect, and that's imposing some serious order on the cloud. This isn't just about admin tasks. It's about designing a cloud estate that's secure, manageable, and ready to scale from the get-go. So think about it for a second. How do you manage thousands or even tens of thousands of cloud resources without it all just descending into absolute chaos? This isn't just some thought experiment, it's the central challenge the AZ-305 exam is really testing your ability to solve. The principles here are what separate a well-run cloud from a digital free-for-all. And look, this isn't just a nice-to-have skill. If you check out the official breakdown for the exam, you'll see that designing, identity, governance, and monitoring, well, it makes up a massive chunk of your score. We're talking about a third of the whole thing. So mastering this is absolutely non-negotiable if you want to pass. Every single architect faces this classic dilemma. How do you give your teams all the speed and agility that the cloud promises, while at the same time preventing costs from spiraling out of control, stopping major security risks, and avoiding management nightmares? It's a real balancing act, and your design blueprint is the key to getting it right. And that really gets to the heart of it. The exam is all about making and, this is the important part, justifying your design decisions. It's not about knowing which buttons to click in the portal. It's about creating this thoughtful, resilient blueprint, almost like a well-run city in the cloud, and being able to explain precisely why you made every single choice along the way. A solid foundation, as they say, is everything. Before you can even think about governing anything, you have to get organized. So let's put on our city planner hats and start building our cloud city, starting with the smallest plots of land and working our way up. First things first. Everything, and I mean everything, in Azure, whether it's a VM, a database, you name it, it has to live inside a resource group. Just think of it like the basic empty lot where you're going to build a single house or a shop. It logically groups all the related pieces of one application together. Okay, so we have our individual lots. What do you do with a bunch of lots? Well, you group them into neighborhoods, right? That's exactly what a subscription is in Azure. It's this self-contained unit that has its own billing, its own permissions, its own limits, kind of like the deed for a whole neighborhood that clearly defines who owns it and what the boundaries are. Now, as an architect, one of your go-to plays is going to be this strategy, separating your environments by subscription. This is a brilliant move because it isolates your super critical production environment from, say, development. And why is that so crucial? Well, it prevents the kind of accidents that keep people up at night. Like a developer accidentally deleting a production database because they thought they were in the test environment. By creating these hard boundaries, you make it crystal clear who's accountable for what, and you can lock down production while still giving your dev teams the freedom they need. All right, let's zoom out to the full city planning level. You've got all these different neighborhoods, your subscriptions. How do you manage all of them efficiently? You group them into city districts, and that's exactly the role of management groups. They let you organize all your subscriptions so you can apply rules and policies across your entire company, making sure everything is consistent from the very top. So our cloud city is now neatly organized into districts and neighborhoods. Fantastic. Now it's time to establish the laws of the land. This is where we shift from just organizing things to actually governing them by proactively enforcing our standards everywhere. I want you to think of Azure Policy as the zoning laws and the building codes for your cloud city. It's what dictates what can be built, where it can be built, and even what special features it has to have. For example, you could have a policy that says all storage accounts must have encryption turned on, or that new resources can only be created in certain parts of the world. Okay, now this right here is a super important distinction, especially for the exam. People mix these two up all the time. Role-based access control, or RBAC, is like the key to a building. It controls who gets to go inside. Azure Policy, on the other hand, is the building code itself. It controls what you're allowed to build inside, and it doesn't matter who has the key. Having all these rules and this amazing organization is great, but it's pretty useless if you're flying blind. Every city needs a central watchtower, right? A surveillance system to keep an eye on everything. In the world of Azure, that watchtower is Azure Monitor. This is basically your single pane of glass for everything that's happening. It's constantly pulling in performance data from your apps, logs from your servers, and activity logs that show every single action anyone takes in your environment. It gives you the complete visibility you need to actually operate effectively. The process itself is a simple but incredibly powerful loop. First, you just collect all the data from all your different sources. Then you use a really powerful tool called log analytics to sift through that data and find the important insights. And finally, you respond to what you find. usually automatically by triggering alerts or even kicking off scripts to fix the problem. So, this brings us to the big question. How do we combine all these different ideas, the organization, the guardrails, the monitoring, into one single, repeatable master plan? Well, the answer, and this is a huge concept for the AZ-305, is something called the Azure Landing Zone. This is really the culmination of all our hard work as architects. A landing zone isn't a product you can just buy. It's a pre-architected, fully governed, and constantly monitored environment that's ready to safely host any application you can throw at it. It's like the fully planned city grid with all the roads, utilities, and zoning already in place, just waiting for the builders to arrive. And this illustrates perfectly how all the individual pieces we've been talking about just click into place. A landing zone isn't one thing. It's the result of designing all these platform components correctly from day one. It brings together our management groups, our subscription strategy, our policies, networking, identity, and monitoring into one cohesive, rock-solid foundation. So, by really mastering these design principles of governance and monitoring, you're doing so much more than just preparing for an exam. You're gaining the skills to architect secure, scalable, and well-governed cloud solutions that can truly stand the test of time. You're becoming the city planner of the cloud. The only question left is, what amazing things will you build?